This video is kindly brought to you by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform to create a beautiful online presence.
Hi, my name's Janelle and welcome back to Rosery Apparel. In this video, I'm going to be turning this vintage bedspread into a puffer jacket. I picked up this bedspread from a thrift store or op shop for only $4 a few weeks ago, and as soon as I saw it, I knew I wanted to have a go at making a puffer jacket out of it. I live in Tasmania, Australia, and Tasmania is by far the coldest part of Australia. It surprisingly does get very chilly down here. We're very close to Antarctica, and because of that, a lot of people wear puffer jackets here, which makes sense because they are nice and warm. It keeps the Antarctica cold chill out. But I have just never really been a fan of the style of a puffer jacket. It just is very boring to me. It's not something I have wanted to invest money in purchasing because they are pretty expensive. So I thought instead, by having a go at making a puffer jacket in a fabric that is much more my style and would go with the rest of my wardrobe, would be a really fun project, and I'm so excited to have a go at doing that in this video. So yeah, let's get into it and let's see if I can turn this bedspread into a really cute puffer jacket. Firstly, I did just want to mention, because I completely forgot to mention it in the intro, this puffer jacket project has been very inspired by the beautiful recycled puffer jackets by Freya Simone. I'll have all of Freya's links down in the description below so you can go and check them out for yourself, but each piece is a stunning work of art and definitely has been a huge source of inspiration for this project. So in order to make my puffer jacket, I decided to draft up a pattern using a jacket that I own and love the fit of as a template. Basically, I placed the jacket onto some paper and then traced out the shape of each piece the jacket had been made up from. I've shared a full video on how to trace clothes you already own to create pattern templates, and I'll have that video linked in the description below if you'd like more details on this process. Something I really wanted to implement into my puffer jacket is this original gathered binding from the bedspread. It's just such a pretty detail that I think will really add to the overall look of the finished jacket. So with that in mind, I lay out the part of the bedspread with the fun gathered detail, and I started by placing the front template pieces onto the corner edge of the bedspread. In order to keep the gathered detail, I placed the template right up along the gathered binding like this, so as to be able to use it as the center front edge of the jacket. I then held my breath and started cutting into the fabric. Cutting into this fabric in particular was very, very nerve-wracking, as the bedspread only had a small amount of this gathered detail in it, so each piece only had one chance to be cut out correctly. Once cut, I then used the first cut piece as a template for the next front piece, again making sure to line up the center front edge to the gathered binding edge of the bedspread. So now the two front pieces are cut and looking so adorable with the original curved gathered edges. I then cut out the back template, and this time I made sure to line up the bottom edge with the gathered binding, as that way, once the fronts have been sewed to the back piece, the gathered binding edges will match up nicely. I then cut out some sleeve pieces and two pieces that will make up the collar. I also cut out the two fronts, a back and sleeve pieces again, this time without the gathered edge as there was none left, and these extra pieces will be the lining of the jacket. So now we have all the main and lining pieces cut from the bedspread, and it's time to finally start sewing. But before we start stitching this jacket together, let's just take a quick break to talk about the sponsor of this video. This video has been very kindly sponsored by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform to create a beautiful online presence and launch your passion project. Whether you'd like to start making and selling your own products, create a beautiful portfolio to showcase your work, write a blog, or simply create any website of any kind, you can design and create your dream website all by yourself with Squarespace. You simply select from their range of beautifully designed templates, and then you can change up the template as much or as little as you like. You can change everything from the overall layout of the website to all the fun things like the fonts and colors with just a few clicks. No background or knowledge needed in coding whatsoever. Something I love and value about Squarespace so much is that depending on the plan you pick, you do not need to pay any commission on any of the sales that you make through your Squarespace website. This is just such a huge relief as a small business owner, because sometimes those commission fees can really stack up and kind of come out of nowhere. So the fact that I know that I have a set price that I pay every month just alleviates any unwanted stress, and also means that I can sell as many products as I like without thinking in the back of my mind that the fees are going to be racking up at the same time. So if you'd like to create a website of your own, then make sure you head on over to Squarespace using the link in the description below and take advantage of their free trial so you can test out just how easy it is to use for yourself. And then when you're ready to launch your beautiful new website, head to squarespace.com/roseryapparel for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Thank you so much, Squarespace, for sponsoring this video. So now with all the pieces cut, it's time to start actually making this puffer jacket. First things first, I wanted to add some fancy welt pockets to the front of my jacket, as I just think they look super professional and are my favorite type of pocket for coats and jackets. These are some welt pockets I made on my pink coat a couple of years ago, but to be completely honest, I'd forgotten how I did them, so I quickly had a watch of my tutorial as a refresher before I got to work. I'll have this tutorial linked in the description below as well, but basically for a welt pocket you need to cut a main pocket and a lining pocket piece, and you will also need to cut a rectangle from your main fabric as well. Start by folding the rectangle in half lengthways and with wrong sides together, and stitch it along the raw edge. Then take the front jacket pieces and position the rectangles where you'd like your pockets to be. As you can see, I've placed mine on a slight angle for this project. Once you're happy with the position, stitch the rectangles in place, again stitching along the raw edge. Then place the main pocket above the rectangle and the lining pocket on top of the rectangle and stitch them in place like this. Next, cut a slit in between the two stitched pocket pieces like this. Again, this part is super nerve-wracking and it feels so wrong, but I promise it all works out like magic. Then once cut, push the pockets and the rectangle in through the slit, which should nicely inset the rectangle into the slit, covering all of the raw edges and the pocket pieces. Then stitch the rectangle into position and stitch the pockets closed at the same time like this. And your beautiful and very professional looking welt pockets are complete, which is always a relief to be sure. Again, I go into more detail in the past video on how to make these, so definitely check that video out if you want to have a go at making some welt pockets as well. Now that the pockets are done, it's time to actually start sewing the jacket together. First, with right sides together, I stitched the fronts to the back at the shoulders. Then again, with right sides together, I pin the sleeve to the armhole edge, making sure to line the center of the sleeve to the shoulder seam. Once pinned, I stitch the sleeve to the jacket like this. Next, with right sides together, I flip the fronts of the jacket onto the back and stitch the jacket together along the sides and the underarm edge like this. Once stitched, I turn the jacket right side out and it's already looking oh so cute. I then repeat the same steps minus the welt pockets for the lining pieces I had cut out earlier. My lining pieces already had a very similar matching curved edge that was already overlocked as well as part of the original bedspread. However, if you are attempting a similar project, I recommend also overlocking the lining so that it matches the shape and the finish of your main jacket piece. Next, I take the collar pieces I had cut out earlier and stitch them together like this. Then once stitched, I turn the collar right side out and use a not very sharp needle to push out the seams as much as possible. I then top stitch the collar to keep the turned out edge in place. Next, I sandwich the collar into position along the neck edge of the jacket, pinning the lining and the main jacket pieces together at the same time. I then stitch all of the layers together at the neck edge like this. Which, once stitched, looks a little something like this. Next, I flipped the lining layer so that it's positioned on the inside of the jacket, then placed the lining sleeves onto the inside of the main jacket sleeves. I then folded the ends of the sleeves onto the inside of the jacket, and then stitch the folded sleeve ends together. And just look how cute this jacket is looking already. Now all that's needed is a way to actually close the jacket, and after a lot of thinking, I've decided to just go with some cute bow closures. To make the bows, I start by cutting 6 rectangles out of my fabric. Then I fold the end of the rectangle in by about 1 centimeter, and then fold the raw edges into the center of the rectangle, making sure all of the raw edges are enclosed. This was honestly really tricky to do with this fabric, as because the fabric is polyester and would melt if I used an iron, I wasn't able to use an iron as I normally would for something like this. Once finally pinned, I stitched all of the folded edges in place. Then before actually stitching the lining of the jacket, I pin each of the ties to the center front edge, placing them approximately 15 centimeters or 6 inches apart. I then stitched the lining to the jacket, sandwiching the ties into position at the same time. As you can see, I've made sure that the lining sits just ever so slightly off the edge of the main jacket pieces so that the lining isn't going to be seen from the outside of the jacket. And once stitched, the jacket can now be nicely closed up by tying up the bows, which is not only functional, but is also quite possibly the cutest thing I have ever seen. Definitely my type of puffer jacket. So, how does this finished puffer jacket look? In all of the excitement of making this jacket and being so incredibly in love with it and proud of it, I completely forgot to film an outro for this video, but basically it would have just been of me gushing about how happy I am with this finished jacket. It honestly turned out 20,000 times better than I could have ever hoped. Definitely my favorite, and I'm pretty sure my most successful thrift flip I have ever done. Sadly, it is currently summer here in Australia and I'm already so excited for autumn to roll around because I already know I'll be wearing this cute little jacket every single day as soon as it starts to cool down. I'm so excited about that, and yeah, it's just such a fun and cute addition to my wardrobe. Thank you so much for watching this video. It's been such a fun one to make. Please give it a like if you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one.